Hi, welcome to Learn with me, Mrs. Sullivan. It's a brave Bessie with a few additional historical lessons thrown in for fun. Twice a year, a library wagon would stop in front of Bessie Coleman's little house in Texas. Bessie's mom would rent books for her 12 children to read. Bessie loved to read about Booker T. Washington and Harriet Tubman. They were her heroes. Bessie daydreamed of being someone special like them. Here is a photograph of a library wagon that would bring books to people, just like they do in this story, Brave Bessie. Bessie knew school was important. She walked 4 miles each day to get to school and 4 miles home. She practiced reading to her little brothers and sisters. She practiced her numbers by checking the money her family got for picking cotton. Bessie scrimped and saved enough so she could go to college. She went to college at 18, but left after only a few months. She could not afford to stay in school. But Bessie was not ready to give up on her dreams. She decided to move to Chicago. Her brothers Walter and John lived there. It was big and exciting, and a big and exciting city where people's dreams came true. And here is a photograph of Chicago. And it does look big and exciting. Bessie soon got a job in a barber shop. Bessie enjoyed listening to John tell stories about French lady pilots in World War I. Bessie had never heard of a lady pilot. The more Bessie thought, the more she liked the idea. Bessie knew she could learn to fly too. Bessie quickly discovered how hard it would be to become a pilot. In the 1920s, there were rules about who could learn to fly. Most people wouldn't teach someone with Bessie's skin color how to fly. Bessie did not agree with the rules, but she could not find anywhere to teach her to fly. Working at the barber shop in that time was a really good way to network, to talk to other people, and to learn about other opportunities. Opportunities like this. One day, Bessie met a very important man who worked in a newspaper. She asked him if he knew anyone that could teach her how to fly a plane. He told Bessie to go to France. This is where she had first heard of lady pilots. He told her it would be a lot of work, but Bessie was determined to succeed. She took classes and learned to speak French. She saved her money and was finally able to buy a ticket to France. And this is her passport, because you need a passport to go to a different country. Bessie sailed to France on a steamship like the one pictured. She had never been on a ship before. It was big and noisy. The ocean was windy and rough. Bessie was a little scared being on a big ship all by herself. She reminded herself that she was on her way to being somebody special. The trip took 9 long days to sail across the Atlantic Ocean. Bessie stared out at the water, waiting to see land. Finally, Bessie reached France. Soon she found a school that would teach her how to fly a plane. After years of hard work, Bessie was ready for her first flying lesson. First, Bessie had to study how to inspect a plane. This plane had wings made of wood and cloth. Bessie had to check the cloth wings for any tears. She also had to check the propeller. Here's the propeller, and here are the wings. And there's Bessie Coleman. Awesome pilot boots. After a few lessons, Bessie climbed into the back of the plane, and her teacher climbed into the front. The propeller whirled and the engine chugged. After a running start, the plane took off. Bessie gripped the controls as she took to the air. Her cheeks were stinging from the cold wind, but Bessie was grinning. Bessie had to walk miles and miles to the flying school each day, just like she walked to school as a child. Bessie practiced how to take off and how to land. She learned all of the words for planes and flying in English and in French. Finally, Bessie became the first African American woman to earn a pilot's license. People could call her an aviatrix. the name for a lady pilot. That meant she was truly someone special. And here is an art piece that shows her pilot's license, and this is a photograph of her actual pilot's license. Bessie returned to America. She was surprised to see reporters waiting to ask her questions. Many people were interested in Bessie. They wanted to see her fly her planes. Bessie wanted to help other African Americans. She wanted children to know they could make their dreams come true. She had decided to earn money for her own flying school by performing stunt flying shows. One sunny day, over 1,000 people paid to see Bessie perform in New York. The crowd cheered as Bessie climbed into the cockpit. She was wearing a leather coat, a helmet, goggles, and a confident smile. The plane slowly rolled down the field and took off. Bessie performed challenging flying stunts like figure eights and tailspins. The crowd went wild. Bessie performed her stunts in Texas, Tennessee, and Illinois. She flew over fields like the one she picked cotton in as a child. Crowds of people were below her, waving and cheering. She had earned the title Brave Bessie. Years later, her dream of opening a school finally came true. The Bessie Coleman Aero Club taught African American people how to fly. Thanks to Bessie, their dreams were taking flight too. Here's a picture of Bessie controlling the radio that would communicate with the pilot, and her pilot's license picture. The story did not tell us that unfortunately Bessie passed away before she could get her flying school started, but other people knew that that is what she was working to do, and they continued to work, and so it wasn't too long later that the flying school was begun. Here's a photograph of some of the people in the Bessie Coleman Aero Club, and it was for African Americans, and men or women could come and learn how to fly. Just recently, Bessie Coleman was commemorated on the back of a quarter. What an honor. They even made a Bessie Coleman Barbie doll. And Dr. Mae Jemison carried Bessie Coleman's picture with her when she was on her first mission on the space shuttle, because she was the first African American woman in space in 1992. So the legacy of Bessie Coleman lives on. How inspirational for all of us. Thanks for watching. Learn with me, Mrs. Sullivan. Brave Bessie.